Okay, so this is module 13, wireless LAN configuration. Okay, today we're going to be discussing how we can configure a wireless LAN to support a remote site, and also we're going to configure a basic wireless LAN on the wireless LAN controller. Okay, then we will be configuring WPA2 enterprise on wireless LAN on the WLC, which is wireless LAN controller, and also we're going to look at how we can troubleshoot issues on a wireless LAN as well. So starting with the first session, remote site wireless LAN configuration. There's one video as well available on NetAcad. I will highly recommend watching that one as well, because it covers most of the basic stuff that you need to know in order to configure a wireless network. Okay, so in terms of the wireless router, or any remote workers or a small branch businesses or small offices or the home network, we always use small office and home network. Even now we are connected through our wireless router, which provides you a functionality of a router, a switch, and also the wireless router. Okay, so it comes with the three. So you can see over here, this is basically a antenna, which is a wireless antennas on your routers. Over here you got Ethernet cables as well, and the last one, which is over here at the end, is called a WAN port, which is your internet port. Okay, that provides the internet connectivity. So logging into the wireless router is simple. Usually the login details are available online. The default login details are available online. It's varied based on your model of your router model. If you're using any commercial routers, for example BT version or any other routers, then they will have the different settings. But you can, if you type in your username, your service provider name, you should be able to get the IP address, username, and password. Okay, but for the security reason, it's always recommended, whenever you log in whenever you basically configure or you get your router, change your default settings to something secret, which is you only know. Okay. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna be doing the basic network setup. We're gonna log into the router from a web browser. These are the steps. I will show you how we will do these steps using one of the wireless router from Cisco. Okay, on a packet tracer. So we will be logging into the router from the web browser. We will change the default password. Maybe this won't be, this option won't be available on a packet tracer, but the changing the password is by default. They will ask you to set up the new password. So there's nothing that you can't really do. So the next thing will be to log in with the new administrative password, then change the default DHCP IPv4 address, then renew, and finally login back to the IP server. So let's go. I've got this packet tracer activity, which you will be doing later on. I will show you how your wireless router looks like. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go to the browser and try to log in on to our wireless router, which is over here. Okay, the IP address for this one is 192.168.0.1. Now you can see it asking for the username and password. So the default username and password which I've got is called admin. So here you can see some basic details. Okay, and I see. So maybe I have to It's working now. Okay, brilliant. So let me start again then. You might not have seen this. So I'm trying to access your wireless router, the admin page. This is a wireless router. This is one of the topology that you will be working later on, okay, to configure the wireless router. So just for the presentation, I will show you how to log in. So on your computer, this is the packet tracer. So on your computer, you will go to your web browser, open it, type in the IP address of your wireless router. In this case, it is 192.168.0.1. Then after that, it is asked for the authorization and ask for username and password. Okay. In this case, it is admin. So after you successfully logged in into the into your router, it will present you a number of options. If you have ever opened your own routers backend, then you will configuration or admin portal, you will see it's similar to that one. Okay, but there are some more options compared to the one that we have, but the basic layout and the options are similar to the one that you have. Okay, so over here in terms of setup, this is where you can set up DHCP. Okay, you can define how you want to configure the DHCP. Either you can have the automatic DHCP, or you can configure a static IP address as well. And the next one you have to define is the maximum numbers of the IP address that you want to assign to DHCP. Just to check, you guys are familiar with the DHCP? What DHCP is and what the function of DHCP is? Just for quickly, can you please tell me what is DHCP and how it will work and what this number 50 means for DHCP? Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much, Sam. So yes, that's right. It is dynamic host configuration protocol. So Cont, the IP address range that this DHCP got is from 100, because this is the starting number, and the maximum number we got is 50 addresses. So the range is from 100 to 149, because 100 is itself an address. So next 50 is till 149. So these are the addresses that this DHCP server got. Okay, and also again the DHCP server, you can automatically configure it, or you can assign a static IP address to that that particular DHCP server. Okay, so once you've done this one, the other things that you have, we can look at the wireless. Okay, in the wireless you can see we have a number of wireless signals available here. You can specify the SSID here. If you want to create a new wireless, just simply specify the SSID over here. I've already put this one, but otherwise you will have something called default. Okay, so in this screen you can see we have one wireless is available, which is 2.4 gigahertz, and other channels are basically disabled. So if you want to enable it, simply click on this option and say auto. Okay, it will enable it, and then you can change the SSID to whatever you want to call it, or maybe my wireless, and now it will change it. Okay, once you made all the changes, remember to save these changes. Okay, so these are your changes for the wireless. And again, you got the security as well. We're gonna look at the security later. Let's focus on this one for now. Let me see if we got any more options that we can configure here. So in the administration, you have the router password, and you know the default password that we entered. So if you want to change that password, you can change it from here. Okay, let's go back. So whenever you set the basic wireless settings, you will, now let me switch this one more time. Okay, for the basic wireless setup, you include the following steps. First of all, view the default VLAN and whatever the default VLANs are there. Like I mentioned, I showed you there was a company and two of the network was disabled. Okay, and you can have a look at those ones and change the network mode, identifying this is the wireless network mode, wireless standard that is implemented. You can always change these standard as well, and then you can change the SSID. Okay, in our case, the default was the default. You know, the SSID was actually default, and you can give it another name like my wireless or any other wireless or your company name. You can define it over here. And then the fourth thing is to configure the channel. Okay, the channels are 2.45, 5.1. There's a list of channels available for you, and you can choose one that you like, and ensuring there is no overlap in the channel in use. Okay, and after that, configure the security mode. And in the security, there are a number of options that you can choose from. You can have open, WPA, WPA2 personal. This is the one which is recommended. This is more secure than a WPA or open. Okay, then finally configure the passphrase. This is the password, okay, that is required to connect to the wireless network, like a network key. Okay, so these are the 6 steps that you need to configure to set up the wireless network. And the other point is how to configure a wireless mesh network. Okay, a WMN, wireless mesh network. If you look at this topology over here, let me use the laser pointer. Can you see my pointer, guys? Okay, thank you. So this is our thank you, Sahal. So this is our topology. In the mesh topology is an environment where you want to have a number of access point installed on your networks. Okay, so over here we got this is your wireless LAN router, which is over here. Okay, and then you got a number of access point which is connected to this this wireless routers. Okay, so in order to create this one, you can simply add the access point with the same settings, except using a different channel to prevent the interferences. Okay, so what you will be doing is simply you will be using the same the network address, same SSID, and then the network channel you can change it to, for example, in this figure over here, for the port 1, the channel is number 1, and for the another one is number 11. Okay, so you can change these channel, but the actual ID, the SSID, should remain same. Okay, so these are the settings you have to do if you want to install a number of access point on your network. Next thing is a NAT. NAT is you guys familiar with the NAT, network address translation? What NAT is it? Can you briefly tell me what's the purpose of NAT is? Yeah, okay. Sahil, do you have idea about do Yeah, that's right. So as you know, on a current environment, especially the one that we are using and you guys are using at home as well. So your router got one public address, and all the other computer which are connected, even your computer or your mobile phone, they got a private address. So if you do something called IP config, then you can see your IP address. It will be something like 192.168. 124 or 25 or something. Okay, it's gonna be between 1 to 254 address, any number between these two numbers, this range. So in terms of NAT, what the NAT does is when any device wants to connect to outside network, okay, outside to your network, maybe want to connect to yahoo.com, google.com, basically these websites are hosted somewhere on a web server, isn't it, which is a physical device. So if your computer want to connect to that particular device, it needs to go out of your network, and this is where the NAT comes in place. Okay, so it will simply translate your private address into public address, and again the vice versa as well. For example, when the response is gonna come back from your from google.com, for example, to your computer, then it will translate that address into a private address. Okay, so that's the functionality of NAT, is network address translation. It basically translate a private source address to a public address, and also a reverse process for incoming packets. Okay, and the next one is quality of services. Okay, the quality of services, the routers, they can provide you quality of services as well. It again depends on what router you are using. Okay, so it depends on model to model. Quality of services are simply means you can configure a number the ports for a voice and video traffic, and you can also you configure the priority as well. Like you also you can define that the emails, for example, and the web browsing will get a will go less priority, while the voice and video traffic will get a priority over email and web browsing traffic. Okay, so this is what the quality of services is, and you can basically configure this one on your router. Again, it depends what router you are using. So you should, if in terms of Cisco, you will get one tab called quality of services, and this is where you can define the priorities. For example, over here, IP phone got the high priority. Okay, Counter-Strike, which is I think game, it goes also got the high priorities. Netflix got the high priority as well. Maybe, I don't know, if it's office environment, you may not want to give Netflix a high priority or Counter-Strike a high priority. But again, it depends. And then you can configure as per your requirements. Okay, the next one is now the port forwarding. Okay, this is also one of the key feature that you can set up on your network. But again, there are some sort of ports, for example, TCP, UDP. They are set to block. They're usually blocked on your wireless router to prevent any unauthorized access. Okay. But in your router, you want to configure maybe port 80, which is this is where your all your data traffic, especially the web traffic, which basically go through port 80, and it is associated with your HTTP. So you may want to enable that one, and you may want to configure that one, so that when the router receive a packet with the destination port of 80, the router forward that traffic to the server inside the network that serve the web pages. Okay. So another one is the port triggering, which allow the router to temporarily forward data through inbound port to a specific devices. And you can use, obviously, you can use port triggering to forward data to computer only when the destination port range is used to make outbound request. One of the examples for triggering could be a video game that might use, for example, port 27,000 to 27,100 for connecting with other players. Okay. And you can define them as a trigger port, and also you can have a chat client as well, for example, port 56 that these players use to interact with each other. So if there is a gaming traffic on an outbound traffic within the trigger port range, which was 27,000 to 27,100, then the inbound chat traffic on 56 port is forward to the computer that is being used to play the video game and chat with the friends. So you can use those ports to trigger. So now we got one packet tracer activities to configure the wireless network. So you can download this packet tracer activities from your packet from your Netacket website. I will quickly show you that one. Okay, so this one is. Okay, so now we are moved to section 13.2, configure a basic WLAN on the VLC, which is a wireless LAN controller. Okay, so we're gonna be configuring controller now. Okay, in this topology, you can see we have a controller. I'll quickly use my laser pointer. Okay, can you see the controller over here, my pointer? Just unmute your microphone and let me. Okay, brilliant. Right, so thank you. So now we have a wireless controller here, and we got the wireless access point here, AP1, and you can see a WLC wireless LAN controller, which is over here. Okay, and for this one, we have a copper cable, straight through copper cable that connects our wireless LAN controller to the switch. And we are using power over Ethernet to power access point, which is over here. And this laptop over here is using basically your access point to access the network and other services available on the network. Okay, so the access point AP is a controller-based access point. Controller-based means we do not need to configure it; it automatically configuration, and they are also called a LAP as well, which is lightweight access point. The LAP uses a protocol called LWAP, which is a lightweight access point protocol, to communicate with the wireless LAN controller with the WLC. Okay, yeah, this controller base, these access points are very useful, where you have to install a number of access point in your network because of the light configuration. Okay, basically, literally no configuration is required if you want to establish this one, apart from accessing the, setting up the interface, the network SSIDs, and that's it. Okay, in terms of configuration of this WLC, it is similar to what you have done with just recently with the packet tracer activity. This is not, there isn't much difference from what you have done so far. So similar to that one, you have to go to the administration portal by typing in the IP address. The IP address information will be given to you about your WLC. Okay, type that information, type in the username and password, and you should be in the admin area. So once you are in the admin area, for example, you can view, click on the access point, which is over here, to be overall picture of access point system information and the performance. For example, all the information is presented here. You can see the information about the MAC address. You can see the information about the IP address of that one. Okay, so all this information is available that you can look. Everything is here. Okay, and then you can also click on advanced setting. I'll show you where you can find over here. You can see this little button over here, advanced setting. So if you click on this one, then you will go to a page like this. Okay, this is a back end of your actual physical access controller. Over here, you can see you have a number of WLAN ports that you can use, and you can also have some Ethernet port, switch port over here as well. Okay, so yeah, this is something we discussed. You can use these ports. We will be using these port to configure interface for our VLAN. So in order to configure a VLAN, especially on your WLC, we have to follow these steps. There are 7 different steps. We have to create the wireless network first of all. Create a wireless local area network. Then we have to enable that one. Then we will select the interface, which I just showed you on on the previous slide. Then we have to set the security setting, verify the VLAN is operational or not, monitor the VLAN, and then finally view the wireless client information. Okay, starting with the number 1, create the VLAN. Okay, you will click on a VLAN and then it will give you an option to create new. So you simply click a create new option and then it will present you with this slide over here. You have to type in your profile name and SSID. Profile name could be anything, your company name. SSID could be your company ID as well. And then the ID, this will be the number generated for you. So you don't have to select this one, leave this one a default number. And the only 2 settings you have to do is this one, profile name and SSID. So click apply once you've done this one, and then after that, once you've done this one, you have to now the VLAN will be created. Click on the VLAN, that is a wireless LAN, and you will be presented with this screen over here. And now on this screen, you will see your name, profile name, your SSID, and then you have to click on enable. Then by clicking on enable, it will enable your wireless network. Okay, and after that, after you've done this one, go to the next step, which is selecting an interface. Okay, and over here you can select the interface, which is your data interface through which you wanna send your user data. Okay, there will be a drop down list over here. There will be one interface called management, and another one will be the user, or the one that you have created. So select one from here. Okay, once you selected this one, and then click on, then you have to use the security setting. So click on this tab, security, which is over here. Okay, and then in over here, just basically make sure you got this security over here, WPA2, which is by default this will be select, and with the encryption set as AES. Okay, and over here then go to PSK. Okay, pre-shared key, enable that one and type in your pre-shared key. So this is the key that will be used to use for as a default network, a network key. And once this is done, simply save, and to check whether your VLAN is operational or not, you can go to a VLAN tab over here, and then you show your VLAN should be listed over here. Okay, and in order to monitor your monitor whether it is working or not, simply click on this monitor tab and you will be displayed with this screen. And over here you can see your VLAN is listed here, the number of clients which are on that VLAN. So this is how you can monitor. And to view the details, simply click on the clients option over here, and then you will see the list of the clients which are active on your VLAN or wireless LAN. Okay, and you can see their MAC address and their IP address information on this list. So if you have more client, then they will be listed in this table down here. So this is the way to create a wireless LAN on your wireless LAN controller. Okay, so you have another wireless packet tracer activity, which is just to do this one. I will skip this one for now, and we can carry on with the presentation. You can do the packet tracer after the presentation. Okay, the next one is configuring WPA, which is a security enterprise VLAN, WLAN security on WLC, which is our controller. Okay, now we're gonna look at how we can do this. So for this one, we will be doing two things. We're going to be looking at SNMP, which is Simple Network Management Protocol. This protocol that basically manage your network messages. Okay, and also we're going to be configuring Radius, which is one of the service that you can use for authentication. Okay. There's two protocols, two subsets that you can use. One is called Radius, Remote Authentication Dial-in User Service, and another one is called TACAS. Okay, so these are the ones. So instead of having pre-shared key, let's say, and if you want the user to be authenticated by the server rather than by your router, then you can use the Radius, and you can enable this Radius service on your server, and this will be basically will be used for authenticating all the users over the network before they log on to the network or before they access any service. Okay, so this is something that we're going to be doing now. First of all, SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol. So to enable SNMP, we have to click on the management. Okay, then we will go to SNMP, and then we will say trap receiver. Okay, and after that, click on a new. Okay, once you click on a news, you have to fill in information about the community name, which could be you can define anything, and the IP address. Okay, this is the IP address of your server. And for the Radius, again, you have to go to the security. Then from this tab, click on a Radius, and then authentication, and then again click on a new. Okay, when you click on a new, it will ask you for the information about the server IP address, which is your PCA in this case, and also the the shared key, which will be used between your controller and your server to communicate. Okay, you will define the key here, and that's it. And after that, click apply, and that should set your radio authentication. And again, you can verify this one again, and this will then all the settings should be listed here. Okay, so this is how you can simply set up your SNMP and radius. Again, configuring SNMP and radius server, this is not a part of this module. Okay, and this going to be the part of your security module, which is the next year. So on that one, we will be focusing on how we can configure the radius server. Okay, at the moment we are simply using a radius server which is already configured on a wireless LAN controller. Okay, and actual configuration is not a part of this this module, and this is something we will be learning in our next module in CCNA security. Now, the next one is to configuring a VLAN, virtual local area network, for new VLAN. Okay, so we will configure a VLAN for our wireless LAN. So over here, the topology is a similar one. We got a VLAN 5 with the IP address 192.168.5.254, and we got the management one, which is at 192.168.200.254. Okay, and we got the router, which is the IP address of 192.168.5.1. Okay, so now we will be configuring this and this on our WLC, which is wireless LAN controller. So we have a 6 steps for a VLAN interface configuration. And so first of all, we will create an interface, then we will configure a VLAN name and ID, and then we will configure a port and interface address, then followed by DHCP server, and then we will apply these settings and finally verify the interface. Let's look this one in action. So creating an interface, again, you have to go on to your WLC. Okay, logging on to that one, you will be presented with your main dashboard. Then click on the controller. Okay, and from the controller, select the interface. Okay, and once you selected this one, then click on a new. Okay, when you click on a new, you will be asked for interface name and the VLAN ID. Interface lane you can call a VLAN 5, and the ID is 5. If you remember from the previous one, we were talking about VLAN 5 over here. Okay, so the VLAN is 5. So you type VLAN ID is number 5. Go next. Over here you have to configure the port and the interface addresses. So the port is number 1 over here in this case, so because you are using number 1 port from your WLC, and then you have to provide the IP address information. So the IP address is 192.168.5.254, and then your net mask is 255.255.255. Gateway address is your router IP address, which in this case is 192.168.5.1. And once you've done this settings, you have to configure the DHCP server, and over here you have to provide the DHCP server information. Okay, IP address. So in this case, we are using router as our DHCP server, so we put the router IP address here. Okay, then finally click on apply, and it will present you with a dialog box, and it will ask you to confirm. Simply click OK, and it will save the settings. Now finally, to verify this one, go to the controller, and then you will see your newly created VLAN interfaces here. Okay, so this is how you define your VLAN on your WLC. Now next one is we're going to configure our DHCP. Okay, guys, remember all these settings we are doing on WLC, which is wireless LAN controller, and these are exactly same how we used to do it on our router or on our routers. Okay, so it's not really a different things. So for DHCP, we have to do 5 steps to configure it. First of all, we will define the DHCP scope. Okay, then we will name it. Then we will verify it, and then we configure and enable DHCP scope, and finally we will verify the DHCP scope. Okay. DHCP scope is simply for your DHCP server. So what it should be, what address, basically it's assignment of IP address to DHCP pool. Okay. So to do that one, we have to go to the controller, and from the controller, we're gonna be selecting internal DHCP server. And from that one, you will choose the DHCP scope option and then click on new. So once you click on new, they will ask you for the name, define the name of your DHCP scope. And then after that, they will ask you to verify the new DHCP scope. Okay, you can see the name is over here. Click on that one, on the name, and then define the IP address information. So this will include the pool start address, which could be anything. For example, in this case, 192.168.200.240, and then the pool end address, which is the last address of your pool. In this case, it is 192.168.200.249. So we got 10 addresses for this pool. Okay. And again, we get the default router, so you can put the IP address of your default router, and finally enable this one. Okay, select enable from the list, and that will enable your DHCP scope. And in order to verify, simply go to the controller, and then you should be able to see your scope that you created. The address pool is over here. Okay, so this is how you can set up the DHCP scope, which is creating a pool simply. Now we're going to look at the security WPA to enterprise VLAN, how we can configure that one. It's quite simple as well. The same way we do on a router. So we're going to be doing over here. So we have to follow the steps. 6th step again, create a new WLAN, and then configure the WLAN name and SSID. Then we're going to enable the WLAN for VLAN 5, and then verify the security is ES, and 802.1x is a default one. And then we're going to configure WLAN security to use radius server. Okay, and then we're going to verify new VLAN is available or not. Okay, let's create the VLAN first. So in order to create the VLAN, go to your controller with the IP address 192.168.200.254. Again, this can vary based on the model and the controller that you are using. Again, you can get this information from the manual or from the internet page of that particular controller. So once you are in, click on WLAN, okay, and then click on create new. Okay, and when you click on create new, you will be asked to provide the profile name and SSID. This is the same thing that we did before. So provide the profile name and SSID. Profile name could be anything, your company name. SSID could be your company name as well. And once you've done this one, you have to enable. Okay, so once you created this one, click on your newly created VLAN, and then click on enable option over here. So once you click on enable, then use the interface. Use a VLAN 5 from the interface, and if you go any other, the VLAN or the data network is enabled to use that data interface from there. So once you've done this one, and the next thing is to select the authentication. Okay, so we will be using 802.16 and enable that one and hit apply. Okay, and it will save the settings. And then finally, to configure the radius server, go to the security, and from the security you have a layer 2, layer 3 and AA server, and click on AA server, and from this list you will see a number of server, and by default they will be none, and then you can click on the drop down menu and select the appropriate IP address where your radius server is hosted. Okay, so say click on that one, select that one, hit apply, and the changes will be saved. Finally, to verify that one, go to the VLAN and click on the VLAN, and you will see the available VLAN which are just created, and your company name is just created over here. Okay. So again, you have one packet tracer activities just on SNMP and radius. I will just working on that one as well. And before we finish, we will look at the last section, which is troubleshooting. Okay, troubleshooting wireless local area network issues. So the troubleshooting process is there is no the set guidelines or any step-by-step guide for troubleshooting. You basically learn this one with experience as well, but you can follow some sort of systematic approach which is suggested by by Cisco. Okay. We have a sixth step that Cisco proposes. The first one is identify the problem. Okay, in this one, you will in this step you will identify the actual problem, and in this one, to identify the problem, the one of the way could be to talk to the users who are facing a problem and try to gather as much information as possible. Okay, so once you got all the information, you identify the problem, what the issue is, and then you can establish a theory of probable causes. Okay, over here you will talk to the user again, identify the problem. You can try to establish to find out what will be the possible causes for that particular issue. Okay, then in a third step you can test your theory to determine the causes. So for example, you may thought of three causes, right? You can say these could be your possible three causes, and from these three causes you can now start testing your possible solution to fix those causes. And one of the best ways to start with the one which is the easiest one, a quick fix. Okay, try to do that one. If it doesn't work, move to the next one, and so on. And then in a fourth step, establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement the solution. Okay, and then verify the full system functionality and implement the preventive measure. Okay, so in this one you have corrected the problem, you have to verify the full functionality, and also if possible try to implement the measure so that this will not happen again. And the last one but not the least, document finding, action and outcome. Very important, so that in the future you can go back and look at what worked when you had a similar problem in the past. Okay, so you have a sixth step: identify the problem, establish a theory of probable causes, test the theory, establish a plan, verify, and document. Now we're going to look at some of the scenarios about network issues. For example, while in this case we have a wireless client which is not connecting. So in this case, if there is no connectivity, check the following: confirm the network configuration on the PC with the IP config. This should be your first thing that you should be doing. If the user is not able to connect to the network, try to see whether it got the IP address and other necessary network configuration settings set up already. Okay, then confirm that the device can connect to the wired network. Okay, ping a known IP address. You can use any IP address over the network and see if we can ping to that network. Okay, and also you can reload drivers if needed for a client, or try different wireless NIC as well. Maybe the NIC might be faulty if it doesn't work, so you can try to replace that one as well. Okay, if the wireless NIC is working, then check the security mode, encryption setting on the client, whether they are set accordingly. So if the PC is operational, but the wireless connection is performing poorly, then you can have a look at the following issues. You can check if the PC is out of planned coverage area, because obviously every wireless got some sort of area, let's say 20 meters, 50 meters, or 100 meters, okay? And you have to check whether it is in that coverage area or not. And then in the second option could be the check the channel setting on the wireless client. Check which channel they are currently connected to, okay, whether that channel basically support that range or not. Then finally check for interference on with 2.4 gigahertz bands, and you can use this 2.4 gigahertz band as well for any interference that might be causing the poor connectivity. So the next step is ensure that all devices are actually in place, which means is consider the possible physical security issue. Is there powers to all the devices and are they powered on? And finally, inspect the link between the cable device, looking for any bad connector or damage or missing cable. Most of the time, the cable could be faulty that can cause issues with the connectivity. Okay, so if the physical plant is in place, that physical devices are there, verify that the wired LAN by pinging device, including your access point. So if you're still having issues, then there might be the AP which is faulty, or there are some issues with the configuration. So you can look at your AP and its configuration as well. Okay, now we can look at another one to optimize and increase the bandwidth of .11 a dual bandwidth router or AP. For this one, you can either upgrade your wireless client or you can split the traffic. Okay, to upgrade this one, upgrade the wireless client, you might be running 802.11b. You can upgrade to 802.11n. Okay, and that might help you to boost the performance. Or you can split the traffic. Okay, to split the traffic, as you know, you can have a number of channels. You can have 2.5 or 5 gigahertz bands, so you can basically split the traffic on these two channels. Okay, this is how you can also increase the performance. So, and there are a number of reasons. Again, they are saying for split the traffic. One is 2.4 gigahertz band may be suitable for basic internet traffic that is not time sensitive, and the 5 gigahertz is more faster. So you may want to put your video traffic or any other IP phone on 5G, while the 802 you want to put any other web traffic or internet traffic on 2.5. And also 5G is usually much less crowded than 2.4, and that's why it's ideal, like I said, for multimedia streamings. Okay. So the next one is again, this is a continuation of the previous slide. So by default, the dual band router, which is 2.4 and 5, and access point use the same network name on both 2.5 and 5 band. They are saying it may be useful to segment the traffic. The simplest way is to change their name. So you can set 2.4 maybe network 1 and 5 gigahertz to network 2. So segment them and rename one of the wireless or both of the wireless network. And another option they mention, make sure they are free from obstructors like furniture, fixture, and tall appliance. So make sure this is a more common one. We all aware of these things as well. They always recommend, even in a home environment, make sure your access point, your router, free from any of the obstacles. Okay. So, and last one is updating firmware. These are the software, okay, that you can update. You can download these one from the vendor's site, okay, and then update it from your on your device. And and these are usually recommended also because of the security issues as well. Sometimes there might be some sort of security loopholes, and you may want to, as a network engineer, you should be looking at any updates or any upgrades for your firmwares. And that's it. That's the end of this session number 13. You guys have a number of packet tracer activities, but they are quite similar because you're using an actual interface on your, either on your router or on your WLC or on the access point to manage these ones. So I will let you carry on with your packet tracer. Again, if you need a help or you need any support, let me know. I'm available here. I will try to help. Me start the recording. So the assignment, 4S6 assignment, okay? This is a 1,000-word report that you have to do. For this one, I've created a help sheet for you guys, okay? So what you have to do, you have to create a VLAN system and demonstrate the basic switching concept. The system may be either the one that you have created in the lab or from the final practical. So because of this current issues, current pandemic, so it is not really, I would not suggest to wait for the final practical. I would say start working on your assignment now, and you can use any network, or any topology from the lab that you have done so far. I have one for you that you can use, and I would suggest using this one, packet tracer. Okay, so this is the packet tracer activities. You got the topology here as well, so you can use this topology. So what you have to do, you have to create this topology. If you're using packet tracer, so this will already be done for you. I will share a link with you guys of this packet tracer activities. So what you have to do in this one, in this report, you have to compare and contrast the use of routing protocols and use authoritative sources to support your arguments. The protocol that you can discuss could be RIP or IGRP, EIGRP, or OSPF. Okay, you have to discuss the advantage and disadvantage, and you can also discuss the evaluation of VLAN and inter-VLAN routing. And then you have to evaluate the created VLAN system, its strength and limitation. So this is your VLAN system, and what you have to do in this section 2, you have to evaluate this one. You have to provide me basically strength and limitation of this system. Okay, and then you can, in the third section, you have to justify the possible improvement that could be implemented to enhance the system, taking into consideration security. In security, you can talk about the ACL, NAT, which we just discussed now, firewalls, systems like IPS system, IDS system, port security itself as well. Okay, and finally, conclusion and appendix. You can show the network topology that you have created, or any proposed network topology. For example, adding some sort of firewalls, addressing tables, and if you diagram of system architecture, maybe your new system if you want to propose a new one. Okay, so this is your assignment. Any question on this one? Okay. Okay, so what I will do, I will share this one with you, and I will just start working on this one now. And the deadline I can give you for this one, I was going to give you 31st because we have a full week off here. So you can basically focus on your assignment during this week. You think it's good enough, or you need more time? Yeah, you basically in this one you have to this is the first section is basically your research. So you will be doing the research on these ones, and because no, I was going I was meant I was meant by all of these things. So okay, if that's the issue, I would say go for this one, and otherwise we can have till 15th of June. So that will be your final deadline. So that means basically you got 1 month to work on this one, 4 weeks, including 1 week of holiday. You think it's good enough now? But yeah, because I at least I need 2 weeks as well to mark your assignment and give you the results. Because end of June is basically your end of your study period anyway, and I want to use your later part for example, if the college is open in a June, and I want to use your all these days for your practice of your final exam, and also to practice some of the labs. For example, this lab, the one that we're using now, doing in this to create a wireless network, it would be good to do it in a lab. Then you can actually configure the actual device, actual Cisco wireless router. So that's what I'm planning to do. I'm gonna finish all this theory, all this chapter presentation, and if we are back, then I will use that time to actually practice some of the labs. And one of the labs gonna be from this chapter to configure the wireless routers and configure those RDS and the setting that we discussed today. So what if you wanna? If I would say simply, so let's do this way. So you can discuss if you feel this is too much. But I think you don't have to go into too much details on this one anyway, because this is something you have. This is all about whether you guys can understand what is these different protocols. Okay, now these are the protocols that you can use for communication between the networks. Okay, just for your understanding. But if you think it's too much, then we can shorten this one. Like over here, evaluation of VLAN and inter-VLAN routing. Simply this one. Okay, and if you want to do this one, this is already in your NetAcad. If I show you where your NetAcad is. So you see this VLAN, inter-VLAN routing? Your chapter number 3 and 4. So this is what you have to do here. Evaluate VLAN and inter-VLAN routing. So this is basically your chapter 3 and chapter 4. Okay. You think now it's good enough? So I think this is straightforward, because you will be just doing what you have learned now. There is nothing new on this one. And this one is basically your security, which you should be aware of anyway, because the IPS, IDS, these are a standard system by Cisco that you can use to improve your security. These are intrusion prevention and detection system by Cisco, and you can enable this one. Firewall is a simple file, simple device. Either you can have it on as a software or as a hardware. And some of the features of firewall. And ACL, I think we discussed this one in this chapter, in this modules anyway, and explain how the ACLs can be used to improve the network topology, which is over here. you can see there's no firewall or anything. There's no IDS IPS system in place, and you can, as a part of improvement, you can say, okay, you can have the firewall over here maybe, then when actually the traffic leave the network. Okay, so these are some of the suggestions that you can mention as a part of let's say solution to improve your network. Okay, so